How's it going, guys? Welcome to the TheBlueShifting, and I don't know, welcome to the channel, I suppose. This is very weird, by the way. Like, yeah, look at that. Oh yeah, love you for being here. Welcome to a Patroncast. Now, this is very interesting because I've never done a video like this before. Well, not quite. I've done Patroncast before, but I've never recorded my hands. It's really weird. I've got it set up so I can look, so I can see, like, if I want to get something closer to you to let you know what's going on. But I've never shot anything like this an angle. I've never edited it like this before, but I hope we enjoy it. Welcome to a Patroncast. Now, this is also very interesting because it's a public Patroncast, which means that everyone on the channel has a chance to see this. I have no idea how many of you are actually here, but for every one of you, thank you. If you're curious what the heck I'm talking about, I recently started a Patreon page. I actually had set it up like a year ago. That's my cat in the background, if you can hear that. I set it up about a year ago because I knew that someday I wanted to be independent creator if at all possible. Even though I knew it was very much a long shot, probably never going to actually really happen, I wanted it to be in place because I wanted to know and have it all set up so that, you know, when the time came, I could activate it and I could, like, have it be there and ready to go. And then after listening to some creators and talking about things with some people who had more experience than me and in being a channel and being an independent creator, I decided to go live with the Patreon. Mostly because I wanted it to be something that would go public so that people knew kind of like the eventual goal I wanted to shoot for would be doing something like this full time. If you'll have the resources and time to do that. And Patroncast is one of the things I could do to help make things a little more unique for anyone who wanted to support the channel. And so this is an opportunity for me to reach out and show you a bit what that's going to be like, while it's also doing something a little special. Because whilst it's Christmas, and that's a very special day of the year, regardless of what culture you're from, because of, you know, unfortunate westernization of everything, most people are aware of what Christmas is, and I feel like it's a good time to capitalize because, like, regardless of your background and or whatnot, the spirit of Christmas is supposed to be one of giving and thanks and appreciation for those whom you care about. And I think that I have to be 100% honest. You guys are pretty darn special to me. I mean, we may have never met, and I doubt we ever will. It'd be cool if that could happen someday, but I mean, I don't know. Again, small channels, small problems. I don't see myself being able to go out and do big meets or go to cons and do stuff very often. When I can, I want to reach out to you, any of you who can join me, but I never anticipate that being a thing. But I can do these, and so this is kind of my thank you. For my patrons, they'll get every month an opportunity to listen to me rant one-on-one with their questions, and you'll hear some of that today. And I also will kind of showcase some of the things that I'm passionate about, things that are on my mind, things that I have been really enjoying lately, concerns I have, and then channel info. It's like behind the scenes stuff, and I'm probably going to do things like showing how I edit occasionally, or talking about different like channel analytics, which we're actually going to talk about here, because not only is a Christmas Patroncast that goes public be great just to kind of go over the more general stuff, it's also a good opportunity because technically I started my channel in December. Like, I first opened it and was ready to start like uploading videos to TheBlueShifting. It was in December, I believe December 4th, 2015 was when I started the channel, and then my first uploads went live, I think, January 2016. But I digress. Welcome to the Patroncast. Now, the reason why you can see my hands here this whole time is the fact that as I was contemplating how to make this video especially unique and special, considering it was going to be something not only great for my patrons, whom are fantastic, wonderful people, lab mems that you are, you know who you are. Thank you so much. I'll be thanking you directly later. But I also wanted to make this something a bit more unique. So I asked them, I kind of came up with a few ideas of things that I could do to kind of spice things up. And one of the items that I selected, they voted for. And they selected and wanted to see more about something I've recently expressed interest in, which is painting war tabletop miniatures. So I want to go over that a little bit with you today. So the specific setting and system that I'm doing is Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Now, the race and battle group are Daughters of Khaine. Now, very interesting cover art picture, but what makes these so interesting is in the Warhammer fantasy lore, the original world line was destroyed. Like the planet was destroyed, survivors fled to a different world, and they're facing very similar problems there. Daughters of Khaine are descendants of the Dark Elves, who are kind of more mischievous, like dark practitioners of dark magic. And Marathi ended up coming up to this world kind of as a giant, like, Lemian snake lady person. And she ended up bringing up followers who also were like Gorgon / Methuselah or winged harpy-like creatures, kind of fused with these dark elves. Now, they are the army that I kind of got inspired to. Like, I've always loved the fantasy, Warhammer and Warhammer 40k universes, and like the races and everything. And I used to collect Warhammer 40k miniatures, specifically Space Marines, back in high school. So maybe like 10, 12 years ago, kind of a thing. God, doesn't feel like it should be that long ago. But I collected them then, but I never had much budget, and I felt like it was something I enjoyed, but just never wanted to put the time into. And I've kind of a puttering for a while where I always wanted to do it again, but never quite picked it up until recently. When I found out this set came out, just because I thought the models looked so darn cool. I'm a huge fan of like hybrid type like lore creatures. And so when I saw these models, I just was instantly taken by them. And I was like, yes, this is something I want to collect just for the sake of having the models. And then if I have the chance to play the tabletop game, awesome. I'll be happy to do that too. And so that's where I started with this little battle pack. So these are some of their warriors. You're going to see, like, I've started some of the painting, but I'm going to be doing some changes. And that's what this stream is going to be about. I'm going to be talking, answering questions, whilst I showcase some of my very pathetic painting skills. Because frankly, the stuff I did before when I was first collecting Warhammer, very basic. Space Marines are some of the easiest models to paint, and even then it was kind of meh. I didn't really like do much research. I just kind of grabbed a brush and some paints and just went. I decided to dip my toe into getting Citadel Paints. This is not a like advertisement. I just picked them because I know that they're solid paints, even though they're really expensive. If I were to go back and get more paints now, I'd probably want to stick with Citadel, but I have heard some really good alternatives recently from some friends that I might consider in the future. Got some basic brushes here. I got a wet palette, something I learned how to do from watching YouTube. And I had a few hiccups with it before, but this should be good. This should help keep my paints fresh. So even if I don't do a whole lot of painting tonight, I can do some more painting in the next few days, and the paint will stay like workable on here. So, and then I'm going to just be working on these 5 models. Now, as I said before, I started doing some painting, but I've made some changes. I was worried that if I didn't make the palettes too light, that it would kind of just look drab. But thankfully, a friend of mine recently showed me a palette where someone went with some very dark complexions across the snake-like bodies down here, and they emphasized extra color with the armor, weapons, and decorations on the upper torso, and managed to make it look really good. And so I've got a vision of having a very, very dark blue scale pattern across the back of the spine. And then the belly, I'd want to have a very dark purple tint across the front here. So you can see this is kind of like my lighter, like they're still dark, but they're like much lighter. They're more like candy colored. I want to make that a little more dark because I'm basing it off of a real type of snake found in India, where the pattern is very, very dark. It looks black, but if you shine the light on it, it's actually blue. And then I picked purple because I think black purple match well together, and I think it would look good for the belly. And then across the back are stripes in yellow on the scales. And I think that the combination of dark, dark blue with bright yellow stripes looks great. And then she'll be kind of wearing some bronze-colored armor and face mask with a silver spear with some blue highlights, like light blue crystal highlights. So I have no idea if I can actually make what I want, but I'm gonna try, and that's kind of what this is all about. These are first tries. I don't know how far we're gonna get because I'm gonna be talking to you guys too. Probably not gonna get very far, but I wanted to show you just kind of like what I'm doing and what you think, and let you know. And I can probably post updates in the Discord if you guys are interested, just to kind of be like, hey, well, where I was in the Patroncast, like here's where I'm going now. Here's what I think. Here's some changes I made. But yeah, fetch, man. This is very weird. I've also never tried. I can sit and talk for hours, but to talk like this whilst painting is going to be quite a challenge. But I'm going to kind of describe what paints I'm going to go for and how I'm going to kind of start this and kind of go through, because after I get things going, it's going to be fairly monotonous and more about like working detail. And then I'm going to start working on answering questions and talking about some of the interesting facts about the channel. So my thinking for this point is I'm going to start with the body. I made a mistake where I was being too particular the first time around. So I'm going to darken this blue shade, but I'm going to paint just the whole bottom that color. Just make it broad, cover it completely in like a dark, dark blue. And then I was thinking about trying to just use a shader to fill in some of the gaps across the top of the tummy of these of the snake bodies. I want to see if that pops through. If I don't see any popping through in that at all, I might do some dry brushing of these kind of purple, this more like bright purple, to get it to come through. And I got other things. I might dip away and look at some of my other paints. I think I've got everything I need here, but I might have to check and work on that a little bit. Yeah. Oh yeah, these models too, they come out like these little pieces, so I had to glue all these together super glue. It took about a week doing piecemeal, because again, I don't get a lot of free time. So this is something that I squeeze in like 30-minute, hour-long batches where like I have time. So I'm never going to progress very fast with these, but it's a way for me to make something like my YouTube videos, where it's like a long-lasting application of time, where I can look back and be like, yeah, that took a while, and that's worth it. Because I'm more and more like appreciating, like, even above just playing a video game, having something I can make, being creative and allowing that to be a place to express myself. Really, really important to me. So I'm happy with that. So I guess I'll get this kind of going. I'm gonna blend some paints together and get this started. So again, like, I'm going to be focusing primarily on my palette, which will allow me, hang on, you probably can't hear me there. Yeah, by working the palette, I'll be able to like mix my paint here and then kind of keep it going. I'm going to keep a running total in my head and might make notes for later if I really like a particular shade of like the amount of blending I do. But the nice thing about it is you can kind of eyeball it. And whilst I'm not a great artist in any way, I do have a good eye for shade. I've always been pretty good about picking out different shades of color, and happily found that I'm not colorblind in any way. I always thought that was really curious, since I've always taken those tests, and I even like paid for one time to like take a test with an eye doctor, just because I was curious about like whether or not I was colorblind, even like a little bit. And luckily, never. It always came out super negative. That's like not really a thing. Now, the beautiful thing about paints like this, like, they're in little jars and they're expensive, but they are powerful. So you don't need a whole lot. So 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to have 5 dabs of black here. And then I have this kind of Contour blue. It's kind of a darker blue as well. Like, it's not like a straight up like ultramarine kind of blue, like it's very crystalline and bright. I could bring down that kind of color, but I'm already going for a darker shade, and so it seems better to kind of go across. It seemed like a better idea to stick to the same spectra of palette shades, but I shouldn't need much more than a dab. So I'll mix that in. Now, we're going to give that a shot. So, I'm going to select one of my models, and I'm just going to kind of go to town on it. Because the nice thing is that while it's wet, I can kind of just... Oh, here, I'm going to get that blue mixed in a bit more. While it's wet, I can always just go back and correct it if I want to. Oh yeah, I also probably should dab a little bit of water in here, because these paints go longer. Like, they're really nice in that regard, that like you can really, like, you add a thin coat to keep a lot of the detail of the original model like apparent. Like, you don't want to drown it. It's more like a lot of like miniature painting is very much about layering. And again, like, I don't even know this stuff. This is stuff I picked up from just like doing research and like talking to people who know what they're doing with this stuff, and also like YouTube. There's a ton of YouTube videos. I made like a little playlist in my personal YouTube account where I just have all these like really cool little tip guides. And like the best thing about it is like seeing how much they all corroborate each other like helps me be like, yeah, I think I know I think I know what's going on now. So you can see here I'm getting a nice covering, and like it's a lot darker, but I think that's gonna start working in our favor now because I learned some things. Like I said before, my biggest fear was that I didn't want to make it all bland, because like if you've ever looked at Age of Sigmar, Warhammer 40k models, like they're anything but bland. But it turns out that when you have darker shades, because there's plenty of like models that look fantastic that are like black, and I was like, I was so worried about it, and I saw those and I was like, hang on, how do you do that? So I looked up some videos about that, and they said that like when you're doing dark palettes, you don't need to be afraid to go too dark. What you should know and really think about is the fact that like when you do a large spectrum dark color like this, it means that your highlights and the things that aren't dark are going to be very critical to get done, to do right. So I just got to make sure, be very careful about like the application of the fine detail down the road. But yeah, so right now this is like 5 Baden Black, 1 Cantor Blue, and that's kind of like my palette spread right now for this color. And I'm gonna move on. Like I'm gonna like do this and try and make sure I get everything, get all the recesses, and I'm gonna let it dry before I put on another coat. Because I already did these in a dark blue, I doubt I'll have to do very much touch up for this layer because I've already done some paint, and it's like that helps make sure that like nothing's gonna pop through. I'm leaving the spike on the tail done because I'm planning to make that bright as well. And so whilst I don't mind painting on top of like these scales again to get them to pull up some of that bright color, I might as well not bother with that tip of the tail when I don't need to, because that whole thing's just going to be kind of like a shocking yellow color that I think is going to look really, really nice. It's actually funny because like the kind of color palette, like obviously it's a lot darker blue, but it's very similar to the pattern that I asked for my TSF at the end of my YouTube videos and my muv-luv themed end card that I custom ordered. By the way, that's the other thing too. Like people who are patrons right now, like obviously you're not paying for me to like have an income. I don't like it's not going to be there for a while. But those who are supporting the channel, you are going to be directly supporting things like banners, maybe hiring editors occasionally for bigger projects. You're also like gonna help maybe bring about like maintenance stuff. Like I don't know, if my hard drive explodes again, like it'd be nice knowing that I have like some funds to fall back on if I'm in a pinch. But I'm never gonna like just take things for myself. Like I keep everything's well documented. Like I have a separate accounting like record book, like you could say. Like I keep everything separate. So anything that's been coming through on Patreon, like thank you so much, and understand that like that's only ever going to be used for the channel or like direct emergencies. I'm never going to. I don't want to ever. I would feel horrified if I ever felt like I was like abusing your trust in that regard. 2, 3, 4, 5, and black and blue. Oop. Unfortunately, when blending, like I'm not very good at like keeping the pots all like separate from one another. Gosh darn it. Okay. I think there's got to be a better way to do this than what I'm doing. Again, like there's so much I still need to learn about this process. But there we go. That's looking better. Oh, there goes my computer screen. Hang on. Sitting still too long. The computer's like, I'm going to go to sleep now. Okay. So now that I've gotten this all figured out, so I think I'm starting to be able to like focus again. So thank you for letting me rant and rave about the painting side of things. So now I want to talk about the channel real quick. Every year around the time you set up your channel, or maybe just towards the end of the year, I don't know, I get a little email kind of being like, oh, YouTube, congratulations for being part of our wonderful community. It's like we care about you even though you have only like 2,000 subscribers. It's like, yeah, sure, YouTube, your automated system sure love me. Especially all those like claims I keep getting lately on all my Steins Gate videos. By the way, like I don't make very much money on the channel, period. Like there's just like, it's a thing. And like I say, I run my channel assuming that someday I can have achieved my dream of like being able to do this full time and like, you know, like be able to really like fund some amazing projects and ideas I have for the future of the channel. And like, I see myself someday like releasing a video a day, maybe like 5 or 6 days a week, and then like doing like more live streams and like covering like, especially I could see live streams being a lot more fun with like things like my Persona 5 Let's Play. But like I don't think I can do consistent live streams. There's just so much that goes into a live stream, and like it's just not feasible right now. But like I'd love to do that stuff like more in the future. But unfortunately, whoever like the people who bought mages out recently have been very much like taking the clan ad type approach to streaming content. They have been hand claiming my videos, and like it's funny because like I have no problem with like not running ads on my videos. Like there's several series on my channel I don't run ads on at all, like Katawa Sojo, you know, because like while it's really like legally like I should be able to run ads on any content I cover because it is like under the rules of fair use. Not all countries like care for fair use, and I also really respect developers. And so I always make sure to message developers when I'm covering their games. You know, sometimes I'll still proceed even if I don't hear back from them, but I always keep record of like I'm at least going to try and make sure that developers okay. Like, because if developers don't want me to cover their game, I'm just not going to cover it. Like, if I'm ever going to become the kind of channel I want to be, I want developers to trust me. I want developers and creators to like want to work with me. And if I'm going to cultivate that, I need to start with like with an understanding that like I'm going to cooperate with them. That if they don't want me covering something, I'm not going to. Because then someday I'd love to have Key and I think it's Key. They're the ones that have the rights to Clanad and developed Clanad. Like they won't let anyone do their content beyond a certain point. Like even Game Grumps started it, and I'm pretty sure they got harshly like shouted at across the internet. But like someday I want to build up enough trust with a company like that to be like, hey, can I run your content? And they'd be like, you know what? You've showed a lot of good faith, and we know that you're gonna like do a good job of like not spoiling too much and encouraging people to like explore the story themselves before they like watch it with you. I think we can prove you. You know, like I want that to be a case, and like I've seen some fruit from that. Like, do you realize like the people, the staff who work in the localization, English localization of the muv-luv team have like personally reached out to me at this point? Like that they watch the channel actively. They've commented the official muv-luv like YouTube channels like follow my channel. They're subscribed to the channel. They watch my content. You guys might have seen some people have linked some Twitter conversations that people that have like found where people have been sharing my videos in the community on the Japan side of things. You know, like a lot of those people have no clue what I'm even saying, but they're still watching my videos and they're still like enjoying it. And it blows my mind that even happens. And I'm so honored to like to know that I like my name came up in some meeting somewhere where they talked about like English localization YouTube, like where the English localization team was talking about like YouTubers that cover like the muv-luv series. Like they've reached out to me, and like I've been given a broad like part of the reason why I covered everything in Photon Flowers, and like why I'm probably going to do multiple runs of Altered Fable and Photon Melodies if possible, is that they've pretty much just told me like go to town, man. They pretty much just said like we would love for you to cover everything about these games, and like that's so awesome. So like the channel's in such a good place. I've said it before, like, if I even had, like, 5 people wanting to watch me and make content, I'd still make content. And the fact that there's, like, 2,000 people who want to watch me make content blows my mind, and I love it. And like I'm the kind of person who always plans for the future. So like the reason why the Patreon site is here, because it's like I know what the channel could be someday, and I'm going to assume that someday it will continue to be what I've always wanted it to be. Sorry, counting. It's interesting because like I can do a lot of talking whilst like doing other things, but like sometimes like I have to just shut up for a little bit and be like, don't screw this up, man. Like right now. I'm sorry, my little blue. I know, like, it feels weird, but, like, this is, like, what you gotta do. Like, this is how you get unique shades and how you make, like your paint really work with you. Like, I've seen everyone, like, that online, they're like, don't be afraid to mix your paints. But I'm like, I paid, like, $30 for this. I don't want to mess my paints up. All right, and then, we have a dab of water. Yeah, thin it out a bit. I shouldn't be carrying that over here. It's a big mistake. All right, now back to the talking. So, oh yeah, talk about like YouTube chef. Like I'm so blown away by just what the channel is. So apparently some of these analytics that was sent by YouTube, I apparently made in the approximately a year since like towards the beginning of December to the beginning of last December. So beginning from December 2019 to December 2020. I've made 9,684 minutes of content. Probably, by the time I hit the end of this year, I probably will have made 10,000 minutes worth of content. That's freaking nuts. Because like whatever the number of content that's available on my channel, you should probably multiply it by 3, and that's how much time it's taken for me to like record and edit it. You know, because like I had to record it and then edit it, and I had to do a lot of cutting down, and then I upload it, and like you get what you see. So that's insane. I joined YouTube officially 1,833 days ago. From the first video uploaded till now, my fans have smashed the like button. Listen to this, 14,224 times. That's a lot of likes. And your community's growing. They've left 6,524 comments and shared your video 878 times. That's one of the ones that's crazy to me too. It's like, it's not even just like people finding my content and being like, oh yeah, here, I like this. This is cool. Thumbs up, dude. It's like, that's how many times people have shared my content that YouTube's aware of. I'm sure there's times where it doesn't know, but like, they have good ways of tracking that kind of stuff. So first of all, thank you, because I can't do that stuff, you know? I post my video, I can try and link to it, but I'm also like, you kind of feel like garbage if you like are posting and trying to like get attention for stuff on forums, you know, like you want like people to know you're there, but you also don't want to be begging. Like you feel dirty when you have to like really like pound the pavement trying to share your stuff, and like it also just doesn't even work. Like it might have worked back in the day, but nowadays people like they know how to find stuff on YouTube. If they want something, they'll find it. So posting places just makes you come off like really desperate. So it's like, it's not even worth really like going into it. Like the best thing you can do on a YouTube channel, I think, is just kind of make something you're passionate about, and like know maybe like I don't know, like you just kind of got to go for it, and like you just got to hope that you're making something people are looking for. And like that's really what the magic of all this was, is like I just made content like from the get-go that I wished I could see more of on YouTube, where like people were taking visual novels seriously. The few people who got me started in visual novels were on YouTube, and they quickly moved on because there's not really a lot of money to be made or growth to be made in the big gun market, at least not at the moment. I really hope that'll change, but I'm not counting on that. It's a niche community and always will be, I think. But you know, anime used to be a niche community, and now it's kind of like, well, it's a lot more mainstream, at least than it was. So so I purposely made this channel to be like, I want to make a channel that covers stuff that I wish I could watch more of, because at the time I really struggled to find anyone covering visual novels in a way that I found engaging. One of the reasons I think was because of the lack of face cam too. Like I think facial expressions are really important to being able to like understand like the emotional journey, and visual novels are about that emotional journey. Like it's not quick pace like headshots or like awesome like speed runs and like amazing like reviews or even like skits. Like you don't make like you don't do bits very often in a visual novel. Like maybe if you have someone else to record with, you can do some stuff, or like if you're just a really naturally talentedly funny person, you could make things like really work with you. But majority of the time, like I just want somebody who would share the trip with me, someone who'd like really like get invested in the story and the characters, would laugh with me, cry with me, like really like understand the gravity of the situation, like put themselves in the shoes of the protagonist, and really like ask themselves like, what would I do in this situation? I always loved that, and I love it when creators do that, and I got tired of finding people who just didn't. And so I decided to be one. And apparently there are other people who kind of wanted that, or at least whatever my approximation of that is. Yeah, I'm actually liking this color because like it looks really, really dark, but like I can still see that it's blue, like just slightly blue. And it's very much like I'm using a real snake as the model. I can probably find like the name of it if you guys are interested, like in the comments. Like if you guys want me to know like exactly what the snake is I'm looking at, I'll probably put it in a pinned comment on this video so you can see it. So like check down there if you're curious, or if you don't see it, like I don't know, mention it in a comment, and like I'll make sure to post it. It's one of those things again where it's like I have every intention of doing this, but like between like recording, editing, posting, and then like Christmas happening, I've probably forgotten, because you know that's me. Yeah, so let me know about that. But anyway, like that was what got me started on the channel, and just to know these kind of statistics and see like where I've come from. Yeah, so I made 2020 my own. I'm going to continue with the statistics on this email I got. So it says in the past year I gained 436 subscribers and 179,853 new views. Wow. So 636 of you. Welcome to the channel. And then viewers spent 1.5 million minutes watching your videos in 2020. You all need more things to do in life. What are you guys doing spending 1.5 million minutes watching my videos? To be fair though, I make lots of long videos. I get people clamoring for more like length in the videos, like more, like, but good grief, like an hour-long video feels like just about enough. Like I struggle to keep up with a couple YouTube channels who do like 30 to 45 minute videos. But because it's so lore heavy, I mean, it already takes us like an eternity to get through a lot of these visual novels. If I actually broke it into 30-minute episodes, I really would probably need to adopt a like daily video drop like style in order to make that justifiable. So essentially you get the same, but it would be a lot more work editing wise. And so I really like this model as for now. And if I do upgrade, I'm going to shake up my paints a little bit just because I've been letting them sit for a while. If I do ever upgrade to doing like 5 videos a week, I want it to be 5-hour-long videos a week. I don't want it to have like equating returns, because like I said, that kind of would turn into just more work for the same amount of content. And that doesn't make any sense to me. Because like I get my bursts, like I get like blocks of hours to work in, but I just don't get them like consistently. So I have to like make it work when I can. And so if consistency if it weren't a consistency problem, I would just record more videos a week. That's again why Patreon's here. Like if I can get the support, then I can take the things that take my time and can, you know, maybe direct them in a more positive direction that allows me to step back a little more. 2, 3, 4, 5. By the way, so this is what I'm doing is a base coating. Normally, there's a lot more care that goes into like the specific painting side of things, but as far as I can tell, this is just like for a base coating, you kind of ham it, and you just kind of you do things very broadly, and you start getting into more detail. Like the sad thing is, it takes so much time. Like I imagine I'm probably going to finish this, and I won't have even like done more than a couple coats, because painting takes time. But the reason I take this time is because like the detail is what matters, and I'm not in any rush. Like I'm not trying to flash these out into the battlefield. I don't have like a deadline. I'm just doing this because I love to do it, and I wanted to expand my horizons. So here I am, expanding my horizons and doing something a little different. Something I've always admired, but never taken the time to try and actually make my own. Oh, I almost forgot. I need to thin this stuff down or it's going to clump. The wet palette also helps with that, but the wet palette's mostly about keeping the paint like moisturized. All right. So you guys, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Like these numbers are kind of crazy to see, like all clumped up together, but like it's just us being us, you know? It's me making the content I want to make, and you guys showing me that you want it. Now, like I said, do I ever see me getting to be a huge channel? As of now, no. But you know what? I want to operate and live every day as if I can have what I would love to do. That like I could take something like writing stories, like reviewing stories, talking about them, and like sharing impact of them, and make that into something, because people have made stranger things into careers. So I'm going to work and behave and struggle and fight and improve and push myself to try and earn the right to make something so amazing and fun and enjoyable that I can make it a reality, and I can make it a true life, a true goal, and a true achievable action. Whether I will is like up to like the fates. But as far as I have the control, I'm going to do it, and then hence the patron. Like, do I expect or want all of you to just jump on the Patreon and like help make my dreams come true? That's, for one thing, stupid. For a second, I have no right to that. If you want to support me in this channel, I'm so happy to accept that, and I'm going to do my best to make it so you feel like you're earning that like you get something for it. And that's what Patroncasts are going to be. This one is a public one because I want you guys to understand what this is and why it matters, and what you can what it can bring into your life that you don't currently have. And I want it to be something that's special. I want it to be something that like you feel like you're a part of as much as I am. Because that's the thing, is that this channel is not a one-man show. I might be kind of like the spearhead of this, but like a spear is pointless if it just a spear is pointless if it's just the tip. That's the weirdest sentence I've ever said, and can be misconstrued so many ways. But like if you think about it, like a spear tip is not very effective if it's just a piece of metal in your hand. It's the spear itself, the reach that gives it the versatility to make it effective on the battlefield. And it's funny because I love the spear as a weapon. I never realized this until recently, but I just think the spear is something I feel personally drawn to, because as you might have known if you watched my muv-luv playthrough, I played lacrosse in high school. That was the sport I was drawn to. We had like such a tiny league that in order to play other teams, we had to drive at least 60 miles, if not like hundreds of miles, just to find another team in a league that we could play. So it was definitely not like an easy sport, nor was I on the team because I had any skill. It was mostly because they just needed bodies. But I loved it. And my favorite position was the defender. And on Guy Lacrosse, the defenders can have really long 6-foot tall poles with baskets on the end. And in my mind, it felt like I was wielding a spear, and I loved it. And I thought I got to know how to move it and how to operate it on the pitch. I wasn't the most athletic, but I had a good solid build, and I knew how to work my my tool to be able to like interfere and try and pass the ball up to the attackers, the ones who would score, to help defend the goalie. What's a freaking monster. The goalies in lacrosse have to be freaking beasts. They have so much responsibility, and they have such small frames of windows of space and time to kind of deal with like what's happening on the I call it the battlefield, but like on the pitch, like stuff's coming their way. They just got to deal with it, and they have to do it well. I don't think I had the skill for a goalie, but I could do a defender and be support. And so yeah, ever since then, I've always thought the spear was a really cool weapon. And so it's something I don't feel like gets enough love in a lot of media. So I'm happy to see it when I see it. Another reason why I love these particular models, why I decided to start with them. Okay. So yeah, like as far as the channel goes, like that's really why we're here, and like that's why I'm doing this Patroncast thing, because this is my way to be like, look, like I want you who are supporting the channel directly to get something from it, and like I'll expand on this. There might be more I'll do. I'm flying blind, and so I'm curious to know if there's anything you guys want to see from this series. Like, what are the things that you wish you could hear more about from me? In my first one, I talked a lot about anime, and I'm sure I'll bring it up, but that's mostly because like we're like the beginning of season, like maybe like we were in like episodes like 5 and 6 of stuff, and so like it was kind of on my mind. Now we're wrapping up. Got a lot of good stuff I'm gonna be looking at in the future. Log Horizon, like I can't believe we're getting a new season of that. I love Log Horizon. It's one of my favorite anime of all time, and it's probably the best isekai out there, because it doesn't just tackle the idea of like, oh, you're suddenly transported to a fantasy world. It talks about like, what would people actually do if they were just like uprooted from their entire life and were video game characters. They are video game characters in a real breathing living world. Like, how would people adjust, and like what would that mean? Like, what would that mean in scale of like law and order, and like how do people who have like how do you form a society when like you like death and starvation just aren't a thing? Like what would motivate people, and like what would people spend their time doing when basic like needs can be met so easily? And just like seeing, and like the way that they tackle social, economical, and political thing, like events and like problems in that in their stories are just so fascinating. And like, I mean, come on, anyone who's played like video games always imagine like what would it be like if you actually lived in one. I think it's one of the best examples of what actually might happen if you lived in a video game. So I'm really excited to see where the season 3 will take us. And plus, Akatsuki is the best waifu of all waifus. She's the best little ninja ever, and just adorable in every way. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that a lot. There's a lot of other good stuff to like Reincarnated as a Slime. That second season's coming out. Like actually, I think honestly, like there's so many anime that are like either continuing or coming out that I'm looking forward to and have been looking forward to for a while, but they're all coming out this season. I honestly don't know if I can even keep up with all the ones I want to watch, so I'm a little terrified of that. So I'm sure next month's Patroncast will probably be a lot of anime talk, not exclusively obviously, but a lot of it. But still, if you're watching that, like that stuff, you're interested in that stuff, like you'll have a friend in me, probably can talk to me about it on Discord if you want to. But oh yeah, of course, getting so caught up in stuff, I have questions to go through. Well, one in particular, again on the Discord channel, if you become a Patreon, you get access to some of the locked chat rooms. These chat rooms aren't all that special as of yet. I hope to do even more with them as we go along, but I'm so new to this stuff, and also again, time is just one of those things I don't have. So like while I want to do a lot more like pop in and just do some live chats, like sitting down and being available if like people wanted to just come and like hang out with me while I'm doing something like this, while I'm painting. I haven't been able to make that happen quite yet, but it's all set up and ready to go for when it happens. But beyond that, like I have an option where people can just post a question. And whilst you can always ask me questions during live streams, like I think like our last rap party actually turned into kind of a Q&A, and that's fine. But I'll probably keep those very much on topic. And if people are deviating too much, I might not really have time to address it. So if you ever want to, like if you're a patron, like you have like exclusive rights to just ask me a poignant question and I will answer it guaranteed. And I'll probably answer it in depth. So that's kind of what's going to happen now. So, Dives Aria, who recently became a patron. Thank you so much, by the way. You asked, you said, so a bundle package question. So it's going to be a kind of a long answer. You say, you mentioned the Photon Flower Rap Party that you were getting back into miniature wargaming, specifically Age of Sigmar, hence this. Was there any army aesthetic that spoke to you, or are you just grabbing kits that you enjoy painting? Also, what genres of game do you favor? Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit. I'll probably read through that. So first question. So yes, Age of Sigmar, I'm getting into, it all kind of started because a buddy of mine really loves the Warhammer 2 Total War game. And I enjoy Total War games. And so he was talking it up and I was like, I want to try that out. And as I started playing it and playing it with him, I really started getting back into the lore. Like it's lores, I was like all the lore of this kind of universe I had fallen in love with like growing up. But I'd stepped away from it for so long, and there was a lot of it I hadn't actually like looked into very much. Like I said, I was kind of more caught up in the 40K stuff, like a few years back. So I started looking into it, and I was just like, wow, there's like so much lore here, and it's all pretty cool, really interesting, and like I was compelled. I was intrigued. And the game was fun. I still play it with him really regularly. We're currently doing a joint campaign where he is the new DLC Skaven that specializes in monstrosities. So he has these giant rats that run around the battlefield. And he has he can mutate them to give them special unique abilities. And one of the mutations makes them explode. So they can just run into a bunch of enemies and explode and then continue to rip them to pieces whilst they've like all died. It's horrifying to watch, actually. It's like I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of that. And so like we decided to do a campaign together, and where that campaign starts, there's not a whole lot of like options for like if you want to be close. So I decided to do a horde faction of chaos, and I've been having way more fun with that horde than I thought. There's just something about not having to worry about a base and just kind of running around just beating people up, taking all their stuff and running away. Oh yeah, this is looking really good. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to let these paints kind of rest a bit. I'm probably going to start painting again soon, because the nice thing is that like some of my early models are all pretty much dry now. So, but I'm going to like treat the brush, kind of like give it a breather and kind of focus on chat for a little bit. And then I'm going to start I'm going to try the purple wash and see how that goes. If it does what I'm hoping it'll do, I think it'll look really nice, but I need to see first. So I'm gonna do a test run on one of my models. Anyway, so he got me started into that again, and it really got me looking into the lore. And that's when I like looked at Age of Sigmar. When it first came out, I was really disappointed in it, because when I started wanting to collect Warhammer Fantasy a few years ago, and I really was falling in love with Bretonnia. They were a race of humans that's very Arthurian in lore, like the King Knights of the Round Table. Like it's obviously not exactly the same, but there's like very similarities. Like they worship and revere like an ancient spirit god called the Lady in the Lake, who like gives blessings. They ride the knights errant, and they represent, and they also have like a lot of peasantry. Like it's very like feudal in their military. Like they can seem a little backwards, and they're definitely not the strongest, but like I just loved it wasn't just like the lore. I also just loved the models. Like I think when you collect armies like this, that you have to love like the actual appearance as much as anything else. And I loved Bretonnia. So I walked into the store. I was like, all right, I'm going to start a collection. I'm going to grab some knights, and I want to paint them up. And so I walked in there, and I went, and there was nothing there. And I was like, where's Bretonnia? And they're like, oh, they discontinued the fantasy. Now they're in Age of Sigmar. And in Age of Sigmar, Bretonnia isn't a faction. That could change. And if it does, I'll probably invest in that. But for now, they're kind of lumped in with a bunch of other just like Joe Schmo human groups. So I was really disappointed by that and kind of walked out. But as I said before, Daughters of Khaine released relatively recently, but I had no idea because I wasn't really following that very closely. And now, but then when I did find them, you'll have to understand gosh, it's getting a little personal, but you have to understand, I've always had a fascination with like half human, half snake creatures. I've always, like, when I was younger, I liked centaurs. I thought centaurs as a concept were really cool, but also kind of weird. But like half snake, half people, it's like something I came across first in D&D. Called the Yanti Abominations. I thought they just looked awesome. And ever since then, I've just been captivated by that. I just think that that's an interesting race idea. There's a lot of fun stuff to explore with it. I also just think snakes are cool in general. So like half person, half snake, I think it looks awesome. I think it's really just interesting and engaging for me. It just catches my attention. I don't know why, it just does. And so when I saw that and I saw the models, I was like, dude, I gotta get this. Like, super awesome, like battle, like hardened, like sister warrior, shield maiden type people who are half snakes. That's freaking awesome. And as I looked more and more into the lore, I just fell in love with it. So I don't know a ton about Age of Sigmar yet. I'm still learning and reading up on it. But whilst I was originally not a huge fan of Dark Elves, just because I felt like they were, I don't know, they weren't as interesting just because they're just kind of like were like mustache twirling evil. They weren't as engaging as some of the other factions, but these dark elves, like this post like apocalypse dark elf group, where they're like entwined with magic and like have their own like agendas, but they're also like, one of the coolest things about them is that they're on the allied side. So like there's three main group factions in Age of Sigmar. There's the allies, there's the alliance, there's like the order of the allies, the order of death, and the order of like chaos, I think. Oh gosh, I'm getting tired, so it's like I'm not thinking clearly. But there's the three major groups. There's like kind of the good guys, there's the evil, and then there's just like the everything needs to die group. A lot of the everything needs to die are like there's the vampires, undead, that kind of stuff. I almost was I was considering, before I learned about the Daughters of Khaine, I was considering getting into they're like the flesh-eating courts, because there's this whole like mass like delusion where there's like these ghouls and they feel like they're these like high-end like society nobles. Like in their mind's eye, they're like refined soldiers of etiquette and passion. And that they, but in reality, they're just they're like a mindless, gibbering horde of just cannibals and like flesh-eating ghouls. But they talk to each other and name themselves like these like high, lofty names. And in their mind's eye, they see themselves as gallant like warriors of like just like this authentic culture, but in reality they're just kind of being manipulated into seeing what they want to see. And I thought that was a really cool concept, but I thought the models weren't that interesting. They were just zombie ghoul models. There was nothing special about them other than the lore of how they saw themselves, which was cool, but I don't know. Daughters of Khaine really just captured me, and like their whole story, their motivations, like the whole idea is like they really act like evil people. They kind of are, but they hate the chaos faction so much that their allies have turned out to be like the traditional allies, the humans and the dwarves and like the other elves. Like they are all kind of working with them. But like none of them trust the Daughters of Khaine for good reason, because the Daughters of Khaine aren't really in it for like, oh, like let's protect life. They're more of like, we hate these people so much we want to kill them. And they're just conniving and sneaky. So I really like them. Oh, in my army in particular, I'm gonna come over here. I'm patterning them. If I ever played them, they get special like battle enhancements based on like kind of the more specific aspects of the of them. Like specific, they have temples, and each temple has a different focus and like battle strategy. I'm gonna see if I can find it. Like I look through this book all the time, but I tend to flip through it, so I can't keep up with it. Okay. So there's 4 temples. Let's see. Like, oh yeah, you can see it like I do. So the Hagnar, they're kind of like the main force. They're the ones that work directly under Morathi, who's like the leader of them. She's like almost a demigod at this point. She's the giant snake lady. The Draki Ganath, they are very much about death and execution. So they have a lot of blood rights. They're very, very strong. that's their benefit. So like these guys, the Hagnar get a lot of buffs, like magic buffs and like buffs to their whole unit. I almost went with them. The Drachi Gnath are just very, very, very much about like death, and like they get more buffs, but they typically are limited to like the number of kills they get. Like they get stronger the more they kill. The Kraith are, the Kraith are very much about like the slaughtering. Then the Ganeth are just, so they get greater power at the sacrifice of defense. The Kraith are bloodlusty, and the Calebron, they're the ones I really like. They're like the assassin temple. They're very secretive, even to the other temples. They often mingle with the other races, disguising themselves, but they also have a strong affinity with and are heavily represented by the half snake people, ladies. What are they called? Melusia. That's what they call like the half snake, half woman combos. So they very much like their army are the model, like they favor the models that I like. They also get really cool buffs where like they operate and specialize in illusions. So like they don't get as strong military buffs in the campaigns, but you have the option to effectively teleport or deep strike, as they call it, your units during a battle, where you can take units that are close enough to your leader and you can just put them anywhere on the board. They can't move that turn but they can just kind of materialize where you want them. It means that you get effective like super flanking mid-battle, and I think that's really awesome. All right, so now I'm going to start doing a basic wash shade of this Druchii Violet. Now shades are interesting. They're very, very liquidy, and the way they're supposed to work is that I take this model and I kind of brush them on, and it's supposed to like gravitate naturally into the crevices, like along this belly. It'll be hard to see because of the dark colors, but along the belly you can see there's grooves, kind of like where the belly of the snake. They have these like extended scales that they use that fit together like pieces of mail that can like stretch and compress, which is what allows a snake to slither. So they have these grooves, and I want those grooves to pop a bit. Now you can either make them darker, so like if I were going for a lighter tone, like a bright green, I'd want to probably make those lines darker, like a darker shade of green, so they pop out that way. But because I'm using dark, I'm hoping that this will pop out like a lighter purple. That'll make it stand out a bit. Like again, this is all experimentation though. I have no idea how this will work and if it will work. But I'm determined to give it a shot. And the nice thing is that by doing an experiment, like these models are going to kind of be tossaways a little bit. Like not truly, but like you saw, I painted them before and I'm now repainting them. Like these are kind of my test models. Like I've got more that I plan to paint in the future, but I hope to have nailed down my look before then. But until I nail exactly how I want them to look, I'm willing to experiment. So that's what I'm going to be doing here. I've never done a wash before, but I've seen like people using them. So I'm going to give it a shot. Anyway, so I like the Daughters of Khaine, just their lore and like their look and the model designs and everything. And so like it's just really captivating me. And it's something that I'm really looking forward to exploring more of in the future. Now to get back to Diasari's question. I want to continue to. So like, I'm also considering getting back into Warhammer 40k. It kind of depends that one. Like, if this, like, when I'm done with these, if I'm satisfied with them. Like, if I don't find myself all that engaged, like, if I were to collect, 40k, I likely would be drawn towards, Tyrannid. I think the Tyrannid are really fun lore-wise. I kind of like the idea of just like they come from the darkness and they're just going to eat everything. Because let's be honest, the universe in 40k, everyone kind of deserves to be devoured. Like there's not really anyone I feel a lot of compassion for in that series. So I do this wash. Now I hope I'm doing this right. I have no idea. And like I also very likely will see absolutely nothing come from this. But we will hope. We will hope that it works out. But yeah, so for now, I'm focusing collecting model-wise on Age of Sigmar for now. Okay, so I'm gonna let that sit for a bit. I'm just gonna see how it looks because I have no idea. Whoops, I have no idea how this is going to end up like working out. Oh, it's so nerve-wracking. Not knowing. I just don't know. I wish I just knew, but that's the thing, is like I have to learn. Like I can only learn so much from like watching other people. So I'm gonna let that just sit for a bit, and we're gonna see what it looks like. So, yeah. So right now, you asked me like, is it army or aesthetic, or just kits? I think I would enjoy painting. It's like all three. I literally gravitated towards kits that not only thought the lore was cooler, but I thought that the units looked amazing, and I could imagine myself painting. Tyranid are another group that I just see myself enjoying the painting of, or I don't know. I could see myself trying to repaint my Space Marines, but again, I like lore-wise, the Space Marines are kind of starting to become a little more boring to me. Okay, what kind of genre of games do you favor? You give examples of historical naval, science fiction, dogfight, modern skirmish, large-scale fantasy, rank and file, etc. Honestly, I'd be interested in all of them. Obviously I've been more like drawn towards like large-scale skirmish, like fantasy. But I've also done a lot more. I've had a lot more experience with the 40K, which is kind of like large scale fused with your like science fiction dogfight. You could do either or, and like they actually have come up with fantasy dogfight styles that you can do now, where you don't need a huge army to play a game with people. That can be really fun, and they actually have like unique settings and approaches where you just try and like build a good score and achieve certain like things within a certain time limit, like turn limits, which is really great, because the big downside to tabletop battles is they can take forever. Like you can be in one match for like 2 hours. That's a long time, and most people don't have that time to dedicate to it. So it's nice to have some short, quick fire options. I love Navy. Like, I think battleships in general are really cool. There's even some anime that are really good about that. I enjoy what's that free game that lets you like where your Navy ships and you have skirmish fights? I can't remember. Like, I loved that game except for the fact that it's pay to win effectively, and like that made it no fun. But like, because I'm not willing to sink that much money into it, but I thought that it, like the gameplay itself was really awesome. Frankly, I'd be into all of that. It's mostly about either like models that excite me and like the ability to play and share it with other people. I have other friends that play Age of Sigmar, and so even though I can't play with them because they don't live near me, like just being able to share the lore and talk about it with people is really big for me. Because I have a hard time like walking into a game store and like just talking about this stuff. Like I'm sure I could, but it's tougher for me. And like I've got friends who are already really into this kind of stuff, and I love talking with them about it. So I tend to get pulled into stuff that I do with them. Then your last question is, finally, when are you going to show off some of that work? Oh, well, here you go. Here's some of it. It's not a whole lot of work. And like I said, this is stuff that's been taking over time. Like these models, I bought them probably 3 weeks ago. And in that time, I've like acquired the materials. I super glued them. I primed them. And now I'm painting them. And now I'm repainting them too. So speaking of which, let's take a look at this. What did that wash do? Honestly, nothing that visible. So I think it would like washes like this, like shading like this would work better if it weren't so dark a color. There's another type of wash I'm thinking of going for, which I might do right now. 1 second. Aha! All right, here's one I'm thinking about doing. I'm going to do this experiment. This one is a null oil gloss. Now, this one, again, is very much a shade, but this one's not supposed to stand out too much. Like, it would fill in some of the cracks as well, but this one adds a shiny aspect to it. Now, normally, you don't want your models looking too shiny. I've seen examples of it. It doesn't look that great, but scales is something I would want to look shiny. So I want to see if I give it a coat of this across the whole bottom of the model, if it'll pull it out like a little bit of that extra sheen that I would really like to see. And then if I like that, I'll apply it to all the models, and then I'm going to hopefully apply my yellow striping before we end tonight. That would be my ideal situation, where I probably shouldn't do the yellow striping until the end, but at the same time, from this point on, I don't plan on doing any more painting of down here, because well, like I guess maybe before I do that, I would want to dry brush the belly a bit with a shade of purple, just to kind of make it a little different than the back. But again, I want to see how the stripes pop. And so even if it's like temporary and I have to just redo it later as I paint the top of the model, I'd really like to just see how it looks and make sure that I'm happy with that palette, or if I want to go in a different direction after all. So we're going to get some of this open and give it a go and just see what happens. So let's see, let's get some, like this stuff. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to even do it on the palette because it's so liquidy. Like, I just don't see this being effective on a palette. Like, I feel like it's just something you just pop on. Because it's just like you put on a very thin layer. So like I take it and I just spread it around the whole piece. And it should work its way in to all the grooves, recesses. And just should put this kind of nice gloss. That's like a clear coat. So it makes everything look wet. But it should dry and just make things look real shiny. And I think for scales, that's going to look really nice. But again, we'll see. Like you definitely wouldn't want to make fleshy tones like shiny. But scales, I think, would look really good shiny. Kind of catch your eye and make it pop. Because you can get an artificial shine when paint's wet. And then as it dries, it turns matte, which is good because that allows you to have a lot more play with it from what I can tell. But like we also want to make sure that we can enhance some of that shine and shimmer for something that should be not metallic, but something that should, be clearly not flesh toned. Because snake scales are shiny. And I want to capture that appearance. I also might not want to do the belly of these scales shiny, but I don't know if that's really the case. From what I can tell in my research, belly scales do reflect light very much like back scales. The scales just tend to be a different color. But the colors also don't tend to be that different from the back scales. Like a lot of like other people who are painting these models, they tend to really make harshly distinctive colors between like the back scales and the belly scales. But that's not always the case. And like I said, because of the palette I'm going for, I actually think I want to emphasize the pattern I'm going to paint onto the scales rather than the like differentiate between the belly and the back, which I was going for before, but I kind of wasn't liking. I felt like it was too candy coating. Okay, now we let that sit for a bit and see how I like it. And I can continue to talk to you guys. I hope that I get better at this and it goes faster. It is painfully slow, but I think it's important for me to take it step by step. So yeah, showing off this work, hopefully, and I do plan to post some updates as I go along, but I'm probably going to save most of those updates until I feel like I'm at like yeah, this is presentable. So like it could take months before you really see like this squad finished. But once I get nailed down kind of like what I want, like once I have that figured out, I think that the rest of the models are going to come a lot faster because I can almost automate this system rather than having to experiment so much. Because I want each unit to feel a little different, but like I want them to have a general like feel to them. And like normally if I knew where I was going, I would immediately start painting the rest of them like I did before. But right now I want to see how this dries because it dries quickly. And I want to see how it looks because then I can know, do I want to commit to it or not? Anyway, I've also seen posting, I need to get a drink real quick. These Patreoncasts are going to be very much not edited very much. Like, I'll probably cut out stuff if I have to, but I want you, I really like the feel of us sitting and having a conversation. More so than we even get in the videos. So, I hope you don't mind this more freeform style. I think it just works really well for, like, what this is. Like, this is a glimpse into my backyard. This is a glimpse into my perspective. And whilst editing makes most things look a lot better, this is one of those few instances where I don't think it would actually help. I feel like I want you to feel like you're really just sitting in the room with me and we're chatting. So hopefully I have achieved that. Oh yeah, other things that I've been getting into. I guess I could show you. So I am a long time dungeon master. 5e, by the way, one of the best systems we've had in a while. Not perfect, and I didn't even know this. My kids have put stickers on the book. When did they do that? Naughty. I have been a dungeon master since high school because I love stories and I've always been a good storyteller. It meant that I was probably one of the most consistent and eager storytellers and dungeon masters. Most people want to play the heroes of a story. I like writing the world too. I don't get to play as much as a hero, sadly, so I'm always really excited to find out I can play in a game as one of like the hero players. But I'm like a lifetime DM, and I'm super happy with that. I love being able to share a story like that, and I've currently got a homebrew campaign where we started at level 1. I've been doing it since summer of 2018, so like 2 years and change now. They're currently level 12, 13, and we're really like, I'm about to introduce the super big bad and kind of like the overarching like who's been the one starting, like they're finally going to start being able to put together like who's been manipulating all of these things that have been happening in the story up till now, and like what their play is all about. But they're also being forced to work with them because they have a mutual like there's a threat to the entire like reality, and they're gonna have to work together with this like guy that's been kind of messing with them this whole time in order to prevent the entire like multiverse of collapsing in on itself. So that's really fun to kind of like watch them go through. And then I've got some fun little tricks and treats, and then we're going to be upgrading. And then when all's done, I'm planning on upgrading that series and like continuing like the long-term lore, but like a whole new story. But I'm going to be switching probably to Pathfinder 2nd edition. Pathfinder, I think like Pathfinder and D&D were pretty much on par. 5th edition D&D really took the spotlight for me when it came out because I feel like it compensated a lot for the shortcomings of the Pathfinder system, which was character-driven narrative was kind of optional, and a lot of people didn't really put that much thought into it. And I think the character development is the most important part, like being able to own your character and feel like that you are like you're part of the events that are going on, and that your character is like functionally like engaged in what's happening and is invested. All right, so I'm taking a look at this so far, and I can definitely see some sheen, but I don't think it's dried yet. And if I'm right where I've seen it dry, it doesn't look like it's done a whole lot, but we'll see. Like I'm gonna let that keep drying. And then maybe like what I might do is when I finish that drying, I might just go ahead and jump right into like the yellow patterns I want to do, and just kind of overall give it a look. See, like, oh yeah, I'll let you see too. Like I forgot I should let you see. Come on, focus camera, focus. There we go. See that sheen, but I think that's wet because down here on the back of the tail, I'm pretty sure I coated it, but you can see like, oh, it's got a little bit of sheen. Like it's not like beetle black sheen, but it definitely looks, oh yeah. Okay, now I'm starting to see a bit. Yeah. Ooh, I just think I must have missed this spot. So I'll have to go over it again with that real fast, but I'm liking that. Yeah, that'll be really good. All right, I'm going to touch that up real fast so I can get it to dry, and then I want to get the yellow paints going. There we go. So again, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, it's a D&D Pathfinder. So like I really liked how D&D 5th edition, like it emphasizes like your character background for the players, and it like your character's background has a direct effect on some of the things that they're talented with, like their skills and abilities. And I loved that it was like not just like a recommended thing that like you could do in your own, if you worked out your own rules for it, like which is what like the Pathfinder system kind of encouraged. And instead it's just like, oh yeah, this is a core function of the game. Like your character's choices and like why they're here and why they're doing what they're doing impacts like like the types of things that they're actively good at. So I really loved that. But I have found that 5th edition is also a little oversimplified. Now they're fixing that. They've just started coming out with like new archetypes that kind of really put new spins on the types of characters you build. Because before this, like if you were a wizard, you could adapt your wizard a bit, but you were a wizard. If you were a barbarian, like you could have some flavor changes to your barbarian, but you were a barbarian. Pathfinder's strength was always the fact that like you could kind of take a character and you could just build it differently. So you could have two people, you could have an entire party of barbarians, and they would all play so differently. They could have different roles. Like you could have a healer barbarian, you could have a two-handed great axe super weapon. You could have someone who's tanky who had just so much health they could never die. You could also have a barbarian that effectively could use magic and could transform into a bear. Like they were all barbarians, but they all were different, and like they could fill different roles. And you can mix and match all you want, and they encourage things like multi-classing. Or D&D 5th edition, there's not a whole lot of advantage in multi-classing. But now Pathfinder 2nd edition's come out, and like it's learned its lessons from 5th edition and upgraded them in a way where like every class is super customizable down to like the major class abilities. They're more like you choose what fundamental abilities your character has. So like, you could make, again, like 4 different barbarians, and without even having to look at different archetypes or multi-classing, you could make 4 completely different characters. And then they do add archetypes. They do add multi-classing. And the way they do it is not so much like, oh, you're a barbarian who also is kind of a rogue. And so you're like you'd be like a level 15 barbarian, level 5 rogue. Instead, you're a level 20 barbarian who exchanged some of his specialty feats that would make him like a unique barbarian. And you instead said, I'm going to grab a couple rogue feats too, giving yourself roguelike abilities that you apply to your build as you want to. So like you kind of have like a name badge class, but like you're as locked into that as any like real job in the real world. Like good example, like my wife is a chemist. She studied chemistry and she's done chemistry. The thing is like she can go into so many different fields with a chemistry degree. Like there are chemists that specialize in pharmaceuticals, chemists that specialize in paints and acrylics. There's chemists that specialize in bioweapons. Like there's so much you can do with a chemistry degree. And then even if you pick a specialization, you can do so many different kinds of jobs with that degree. That's how the real world works. And so like you pick a class, and your class just kind of gives you a general idea of what direction you're going for and what your background is, but it has almost no impact on the actual character you're going to be able to build. And I love that. So I'm going to switch us to Pathfinder, but I'm not going to just upheave my whole campaign and change the way the fundamentals of these characters work just because I like a new model system better. I also really gotten into Call of Cthulhu recently. I thought it was interesting. It's very much high stakes where like characters you play in D&D Pathfinder, you're like superheroes. Like beyond level 3, you're pretty much tankier than most like big monsters. And so like your characters are like so far beyond like the power level of common people. Like you really are like you're superheroes effectively. And that's fun and it's cool, especially when you take on really big monsters and all that stuff and you get flashy magics. But it's very much a power fantasy. It's not realistic or like unique in any way, honestly. And then you have Call of Cthulhu, where like you make a character, and no matter how long you've been playing a character, like and how like much they level up, leveling up is about like enhancing your skills and capabilities. But your ability to not die always stays the same. So my Call of Cthulhu character, like he's pretty brawny. He can punch out your lights really well. He's got a total of 10 hit points. Someone with a gun can easily do 8 to 12 points of damage. So literally all our characters are one bullet away from immediate death. And if you're not immediately killed, you're also severely wounded and you have to take real like lifetime to recover. So like you get shot, your character has to spend like a month in a hospital recovering from that bullet wound before they can be considered capable of actually functioning in the campaign. Like it's serious stuff. Like you got to play smart. And so like if you're getting into combat, you've probably done something wrong, because like like even like a casual strike can easily incapacitate or murderize you. And it often will happen. Like if you play a Call of Cthulhu game, you're going to die. You just have to accept the fact that like your characters are going to die because it's part of the story, and it makes it a lot more intense. So you spend a lot of effort trying to outthink your way through problems, because a lot of the things you're fighting are just, they're so much stronger than you, and like it's foolish to just run in and just expect yourself to be able to fight your way out. So I love that aspect of it, and like how it's just so fun to take that type of challenge and to like really explore. And like we had a blast doing it, and we were really smart, and like we took that cautious approach, and we were able to succeed. And like luckily we didn't stumble in. When we came into places that could have really hurt us, we were wise enough not to. But we also were able to stay in character, which I think is one of the biggest aspects of playing games like tabletop RPGs. Is you really need to like own up to the fact that like you might know you're playing a game, but your character's supposed to be a person. And Call of Cthulhu really like gives you a good platform to play a person that's like a person rather than just yourself in a power fantasy. So I've been really enjoying that a lot. And I actually think that when I get a chance, the next game I'm going to play is going to be a sci-fi Call of Cthulhu. Like I love the sci-fi genre. And so I thought of some really fun ideas of like going into like a space the setting where they're like in spaceships on space stations, but they're all still very squishy humans, where I can really play with like the physics and dangers and like horror that is traveling in space and not knowing exactly what you're doing. So I'm really excited to jump into that when I get the chance. And then my ultimate dream, but the hardest thing is going to be finding people who are willing to do it, because it's very weird when it comes to tabletop RPGs. I want to do a fate-based Holy Grail War tabletop RPG. I want to do a story where we do a Holy Grail War, very much, based on the Fate series. Like I've got it all planned out in my head. I've got some really fun ideas, but the challenge here is that best case scenario, you'd only be role-playing in teams of 2. So like one person plays the mage, one person plays the heroic spirit. My original idea was that I would play all the heroic spirits and then have other people play just the mages, because I was worried people would be frustrated with the fact that the mage is super squishy and the heroic spirit was not. But I think if I got the right pairings, people would be quite eager to play that, because like each character would have a strength, and part of the strategy is like having the weak character be protected by the strong character, but the strong character has limits as well. And it's kind of a fun fusion of the idea of like the Call of Cthulhu type of game and the power fantasy type game, because you have one character that can just take a beating and dish out tons of damage, and another character who's critical but is so much squishier. And I was thinking of incorporating the Dresden Files type of story to it, but I'm actually starting to lean more towards the Call of Cthulhu side of it. I don't know. I need to look into it more, but the idea is really unique because we have teams of 2, and all I need for players, I'm thinking it's like 3 teams of 2. I could do it with just 1, but I think I'm really captivated by the idea of humans pitted against humans. So I would do roleplay sessions with each of them individually, and I'd help them like they'd interact with their characters, they'd set up bases, and then they tell me what their plan is, like who they want to focus on, what they want to do, and then I kind of gather the data from all the different groups, and then I advance time and I decide who's going to clash with who. Say the Saber Master combination decide that they want to go take out the Archer because they don't like the Archer being so sketchy. So they make a plan and they try to set up a trap for him. And then the Archer might be focusing on Assassin because they don't like somebody being more mobile than them. So they are trying to work on Assassin. And if they're too distracted, then the Saber team maybe catches them off guard in a trap. And then we bring them in together and we play out a scenario of a fight. And we see what happens. Can the players escape from the ambush? Do they fight it out and just see who wins? Do they sneakily maneuver around and take somebody out? Or was Assassin stalking Saber, and so when the ambush goes down, Assassin jumps into the fray and attempts to take them both out? And then they have to work together, potentially, to fight it off. Or they all fall because they cannot work together. I love that idea of seeing like how that could play out, and then allowing the players to do sneaky backhanded deals and like trying, like communicating between each other, like making me as the game master aware, but like maybe coordinating efforts and making temporary alliances and then backstabbing each other. Like I think that would be such a fun way to play a game out, but it's so hard, and you have to have people who are willing to like understand, like, look, you're probably gonna die. Only one team's gonna win if they win, and so let's go into this open-minded, and then like if you do die, I have like ideas of like side characters that can be brought in, like members of the church or mages association who get pulled in and can become kind of adjuncts in the fight, where they can maybe they find an NPC that they really enjoy, or even like another player that they enjoy, and they become part of their pseudo team. You know, like allowing the game to be dynamic and letting people who die continue playing, so death isn't the end of their gameplay. I think it'd be really fun, but the level of commitment I need is so high. I'm not going to just like casually invite people to something like this. And the problem is that most of my friends aren't fans of the Natsuverse, so they have no idea why I'm so excited about this idea. I've been pitching it to them though, and they seem interested, so I'm going to see if I can pull it off, but we'll find that out. So yeah, tabletop games. I love the role-playing tabletop games, but like we'll have to see how they play out. Okay. So, all right, so this actually looks like it's pretty much dried, and it did come off very glossy in the end. So it still looks wet, which I think looks beautiful. If I were doing this more properly, I'm probably going to go back and do another layer of gloss to make sure I don't have any patches that I've missed, because I can kind of see as I'm going there are some. Because I'm experimenting with this model, I'm going to move ahead. Even if this model is going to be a little subpar compared to the others, I just want to kind of see where I'm going with this. So first I'm going to do a little bit of these, like I'm going to do it like a test line of my yellows. So I'm going to be doing an Averland Sunset base, but it's a little darker than I like. So I'm going to add a layer of Flash Gets Yellow on top, because I want this to pop. I really want to sing out yellow across the dark blue, like nearly black. But if you look at it really closely, you can still see the blue tints in the paint, which I think is like the real piece de resistance. Like, okay, so there's a patch here that didn't get the gloss. So I'll go back and touch up that later. And like I said, I'll probably do these models like where I'll do the gloss round a couple times to make sure I get it where I want it to be. But for today, I'm going to do a couple stripes just so I can kind of see how I conceptualize how they work. And then I'm going to try and do a dry brushing on the belly here with a purple, just to see if I like the contrast it provides, or if I just want to skip that step entirely. And I'm going to probably adjust these more as I go, but for now we're going to stick with this. Now normally I would add color to this, but because this is a foundation, not really like my final color, which I really do want to be this really bright, I'm probably just going to put this down where I want my stripes to be as is, because I'm not going to bother blending it, because it's going to get covered up anyway. This is just a foundation to help make the yellow have a better platform to operate on. I can highlight it, like if I find it's not popping through quite right, I could add some of this Koroks white to just kind of bring it more in line with this yellow, just so that the layer, I don't have to apply too many layers. But the layers are kind of what make it really work, where I might be normally worried about the yellow not standing out on the black. So let's get some of this. I'm gonna dab some on my palette, because painting from the jar is not advisable. I probably shouldn't have done it with the other ones, but like the other ones are so thin, I didn't need to water them down. Like this, I want to water down. So I've got that down, and then I'm gonna add some water to thin it out a bit so it goes on cleaner. Not too much though. Yeah, that's looking pretty wet already. Actually want to add a touch of water to this just to make sure I hydrated it. There we go. Now, if I were doing a longer paint session, I'd probably be a lot more concerned about hydrating this palette, but like for now it's fine, because like I don't have too much more I'm going to do tonight, because I've made this a long video already. Not that you guys mind, I'm sure, but I do know that it is definitely long, and I'm sure you got better things to do on Christmas. Though I'm actually kind of hoping most of you kind of showed up for a little bit and then are coming back like just to finish it later, because I'm sure you've got a lot going on for your holidays. But because even if you don't celebrate the holiday itself, I'm sure that many of you are experiencing. No, I'm already messing this up, which is terrifying to me, because this is like finer detail. Yeah, so the way this is gonna work, I'm probably gonna do multiple layers. Yeah, this is gonna take time, but I think that the reward will be, oh, fetch it, just brushing up against the hair. It's not a problem, but it's like I was really confused of why my brush was not responding the way that I was hoping. God, getting into this is just, oh gosh. Okay, I see. I'm already messing up pretty good here. It's okay. It's part of the process, but it's still just like, ah. Man, yeah, this is gonna be something else to like try and get down to detail. I'm gonna have to look up some videos and ideas on how to like paint this, because like it's already like drying on, so like I have to just repaint over it. Yeah, I might even need to use my finer detail brush for this, but that's insane. That's this one here. It's like so small. But like I think I've been too heavy-handed with this one. So I'm gonna go ahead, and because I've got this wet paint still, I can actually just like immediately just go like boom right over it, and like kind of let it like cover up and start over again, kind of like where I was before. So I can move on to a different section and try again while that's drying. So real quick, I'm going to wash out this brush, because I don't want paint sitting inside the brushes, like drying out, because that's just going to harm them in the long run. I want to use these for a long time. That's a bit sad, but that's okay. Like, that's what this is all about, right? It's about exploration, going where no one has gone before, at least where I've never gone before. Okay, so I'm going to start a bit smaller down the tail, just so I can, well, I don't have to go too far down. Boy, that gloss is really cool. Like, it makes almost like a mirror sheen, which I really like. It's captivating all my attention right now. I wonder if there's an easier way to do this. But my experience has been that people just gotta have a good eye, good hand coordination. So I imagine that this is just something I'm gonna have to practice to get better at. God, my hands shake so much. I know there's not much going on, but I'm like really trying to concentrate here. Gosh darn it, and it still looks garbo. Well, definitely gonna have to figure this out because I definitely want this to be a thing. I'm gonna let that dry a bit, and I'm gonna still test the color, even if like I'm very disappointed with how this is going so far. I know I can do it. I've seen other people do stuff like this. It just might take time and practice. So again, like this is gonna be like a long-term project. Don't expect this to be popping out anytime soon because I have a vision of what I want, and I'm not going to settle for less just because I don't have the current skills to do it. That's how YouTube works. I actually would encourage you, especially because this is my first public Patroncast, like go back to my videos. Set it to go to like my earliest videos. Go watch some of the first videos I made. Oh my gosh, they're horrendous, but I'm never taking them down because they represent where I am and how far I've come. I often will, like, if I'm getting discouraged or frustrated with like what I'm doing with the channel and like feeling like inadequate or just like I'm not bringing enough new concepts to this channel or like I'm not unique enough and they're like, I feel like there's something I could do and I just don't know what. I will often go back and look at where I came from and be like, you know what? I've done a lot and I'm a lot better and come a long way compared to where I was. I'm very proud of what I've been able to do with this channel. And whilst not everyone would agree that it's like a hard thing to do run a channel, I think even a channel like mine, which is probably easier, gaming is not one of the hardest things to make content for. It's more about the personality, I think, than about like the actual like challenge of making videos. But you also keep in mind, I don't know a clue what I'm doing, so it's challenging enough for me. But I think the most important aspect is being able to provide something that people can enjoy and respond to. And I'm very happy to see that a lot of you have enjoyed my channel. So thank you so much for being here. I'm not done yet, but we're going to be close to wrapping here pretty soon. I've talked a lot about tabletops. Oh yeah, the other thing I've been getting into is Magic: The Gathering. This is something I was really into in high school. It was something we would do. We'd play games in like before school, after school. Like it was something that we could actually afford to get into. Kind of. It quickly became something we couldn't afford to get into, but we enjoyed it all the same. And recently, some of my friends have also been playing it, and it kind of got me into it again because like I finally have the means to have some fun. Like I kind of had to be so particular about spending money. Like every extra cent I had went to the channel. But now I can focus a bit on me and my own personal time. Like not a lot. And like I said, like that's kind of the other thing too. Is like I didn't set up a Patreon because I needed money. I set up a Patreon because like I don't want to see. I'd love to get to a point where this hobby could become something more than a hobby and actually become like a job. Because I could do so much more if I could work on this 40 hours a week and justify that. Like it'd be so awesome. I wish I could. Like if I could right now, I would work on it 40 hours a week. But right now I can't. But someday I hope to. But anyway, so I've been playing Commander recently with Magic: The Gathering. I have 2 Commander decks right now. One I just got and haven't tested yet. But this is my first one, and it's actually pretty good. So I Gave, Guru of the Spores. It's a Saproling deck. So I summon lots of little 1/1 creatures, and I try and buff them and overwhelm my opponents with them. And so I've got this Commander deck. It's been doing really well. Actually, I gave this deck I like giving them little nicknames. I call this one Death by Suicide. Because there are a couple win strategies for this deck. The primary one that you could easily understand is just swarming them with so many like 1/1 creatures that they can't stop me from just overwhelming their defenses and destroying them. So like I have so many, I just throw them willy-nilly at my opponents and they just can't stop me en masse. Or I can do things where like I can sacrifice them and use them to buff up my bigger monsters that can go in and do one-shot KOs for their stuff. That's really fun to be able to do. I also have a lot of abilities that trigger when something dies on my side of the battlefield. I can do direct damage to my opponents. I actually won a couple nights ago, even though I was really struggling that game. They kept shooting me down before I could get any steam going. So I really was like not having many options. But as they got more intense and got closer to the end, they started focusing on each other because I wasn't a threat. And I used that time to slowly build up my forces and got 2 creatures on the battlefield that anytime something that I had died, they would do direct damage and I would heal life. And so when I became under attack, it wasn't like the thing that was coming was going to like kill me. Like there was no way I could survive. I just massacred en masse all my forces. Like I literally took all my units and I made them die as fast as I could with some of the abilities I had, and used the deaths to do direct damage to my enemies. And because they'd whittled down their own health so much, I was able to kill everybody in one stroke that way. It was a brilliant out of nowhere win. Like my friend, one of my friends said afterwards, he said that I am both impressed and infuriated by that. Because I'd flown under the radar and swooped a win when he really he was looking to be the winner and he thought he had it in the bag. And I just kind of swooped in and took it at the last second. So yeah, nothing as fun as infuriating your friends. So, all right, now let's try this again. So I have very, very sloppy, I'm going to have to do a lookup and try and figure out there's gotta be a way for me to do finer detail on this. But right now I'm just going to do a color test because this is definitely I'm very disappointed in how this is going so far, but, it'll be okay. It's kind of again, why I'm doing this the way I'm doing it. I'm specifically doing this as a test. So I don't feel too bad, but I am annoyed. So just add a little bit of water. Probably too much water for how much paint that was. So I'm going to add a little more paint to get this going. Nice and bright. So now I go over this again. So right now it's a taxi yellow because the black pops through. And then I layer with the bright yellow. The one thing I'm also concerned about right now is I feel like it's getting too goopy, I'm putting too much on. So I'm gonna have to rebalance that. But you can kind of see, I'm trying to follow the contour of the scales. And you can see I'm being sloppy. The second coat's actually going on a little cleaner. Probably because I'm working it better. And I think maybe what I had done in the last one is I did not give it enough water. So that likely was my downfall there. I probably need to, when I'm putting on a layer like that, I probably need to just really wet it down and apply a lot of coats very carefully. Which would also probably make it easier to recover from mistakes as well. This is definitely going to be... This is a bigger project than I even thought it was going to be. Holy shka. But it's so going to be worth it in the end. If I can make my vision come to pass, I think it's going to look fantastic. Let's see. Yeah. So, it's not dry yet, but it'll dry quickly. But you can see right there, the pop it gives it. Let's see if we get there. So we got that sheen and then that pop of the stripe. So I want it to kind of work in V's, working down the back. So in these kind of straight patterns, boom, 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 all the way down to the tip of the tail. And then this tip, I want to make kind of that bright poisonous yellow as well. So you get this almost reverse bumblebee type pattern. But the stripes will be pretty well gapped too. So it's not going to look it's not going to be like a candy cane striping. It's going to be one, two, 3, 4 stripes along this entire long segment of the body. And then across the back too. So there's not a ton of these stripes, but they're going to be very sharp. And I think it's going to look really good. I'm already I'm looking at it and cringing at my sloppiness, but at the same time, the color scheme, look at that. This boom, just that pops right there. I really think when it's all said and done, it's going to look really good. And then my other things here, so I got her, like I said, so I'm thinking of doing a kind of a dark wood stained kind of color for the shaft of the spear, silver tips with a blue highlighting, and maybe a red jewel here in the very cross guard. Their breastplates and their masks are going to be bronze based on the patterns of the like temple, and then the hair is going to be white with streaks of like kind of like a soft brushing of like a kind of a sea green. Yeah, so the armor, and then the flesh is going to be very pale. I might go for a darker tone if I don't like the paleness, but like as you saw in those pictures, like the dark elf and like the daughters of Khaine, they're very prominently of a very, very pallid skin tone. They do have patterns for much darker, like dark Mediterranean type tans, or even like dark Africanese palettes. They don't limit you in any way. But I do think that I like the kind of more like the standard like initial artwork that they came with. I just think it looks really well, and I think that the dark tones will complement it. Like it'll be very contrasty, but I think that works in the favor. But again, if it looks too like deathly and vampiric, I'm probably going to tone it down and make it more flesh colored. So there's one more thing I'm going to test on before we go, and that's going to be a dry brushing of the belly. Now, because the no oil gloss is here, it's probably going to deafen it a little bit, but that's kind of good because whilst I don't mind it having gloss on the belly should be a little lackluster because it's the part that's most meant to go across the ground, so it's not going to be as polished. Now, for this one, I'm going to be doing, again, it's going to be a dry brushing, which is going to be a little different. That's where you barely have any paint, and you just kind of like, you just gotta pop a little bit, and it's supposed to like just barely come through. I tried dry brushing once before. It did not really end well. I'm gonna try again, and this time I'm gonna do the purple rather than the blue, but I'm also gonna down tone this purple. Oh, actually, I think I already opened one of these. I got two. Hang on. Do I have three? Because I don't think either of these are opened. Yeah, that's disconcerting. Oh, I didn't think I had three of them. Oh, nope. I had a different one that I did. That's a good question, actually. So right now I've got a burgundy and kind of a night purple. Well, with a lighter tone, the burgundy made more sense, but I think with this darker tone, like the darker blue, like the kind of like the purple blue rather than burgundy might actually be a better match. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And like I said, I'm probably gonna go 3 parts black and 1 part Nagaroth Night, maybe 4 parts black if I don't like the end result. Again, like I'm doing these darker tones because I want the bright yellow to really stand out. 2, 3, and then shake it up. I'm glad these are tough to open, but they're tough to open. Yeah, this is more like just like plain old purple. Then I just grab a dab of that. I'm gonna mix that in. Oh wow, like that just vanished. I think I want a little more. So 3 black, 2 purple. Nope, still too much. Still not enough. So I guess I went a little heavy-handed with the black. So 3, 3. So this would be 1 part purple, 1 part black. A little better. 3 black, 4 purple. All right, so I think we're gonna do like 2 black, 4 purple as my end result. All right, so I'm gonna get this dry brush prepped, and we're gonna see how it looks. Dry brushing. Oh, well, I need to go that way. So you pretty much you put stuff on the palette until you're barely leaving anything in the palette itself. You mostly want to do like I'm barely doing that. And so now with it having barely anything at all, I should be able to pass it over. Like actually, like my brush might be, oh yeah, that's the mistake I'm making. Whew, that was close. So I got the color mixed up now, but now I actually need a dry brush. Like duh, You think it'd be it's in the name, you think I'd know, but no, like now I need to really dry my brush out. Not pulling on it too much, but like just really kind of creating an opportunity for it to be dry. Normally, I'm sure I could get away with like a bigger brush, but because I don't know what I'm doing, clearly, I'm going to stick with this for now. So I do that. All right, so now it's barely putting a coat on. Then I just brush. There you go, see? Now we're getting a tiny bit of contrast. That's like, I bet you on that camera it is not going to be easy to see. But it's just, oh, yeah, okay. I'm really liking this, actually. It's subtle, but like, that's the whole point of it, a dry brushing, is it's subtle. And it leaves those crevices really dark, but it adds like a volume to this like belly portion. Just gotta keep it nice and like dry brush is a bit deceptive because it's not like it's actually dry, but it's just very much not like sopping wet. It's just a very light coating. Oh yeah, no, this subtlety with this is actually really, really good. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, wow. Not to toot my own horn, but like I did not think this is going to look as good as it is. Like I'm very, very happy already with this. Yellow is going to just take a lot of dexterity to get what I want. Dexterity I do not currently have, and I'm going to have to work on really hard to get. But this dry brushing, like the stuff I've been able to learn online, is paying off. Come on, dry. There we go. Oh, see, that was a little, almost too wet. I can make it work, but like just barely. I'm like in awe right now, so I'm not talking very much. It's so wonderful when a concept in your brain is actually like manifesting it, like how you would like wanted it on like in your hands, you know? There's something magical about that. Just like the realization, like, holy crap, I kind of knew what I was doing. What? Nani? Oh yeah, that's so cool. And then like you keep these little rivulets in the tail that are glossy black. So okay, I'll give you a close up in just a second. Just gotta finish this off. Wow. Oh, it's so good. So now you can see. Sorry, like it's hard for me to maneuver the camera. So like you got this like across the back, you have this dark blackish blue with the yellow stripe. Then in the belly, you have this like midnight purple belly that doesn't contrast too bad with the black, but it's distinct. You can see, especially like a close inspection, there's a line there, right? There's a color difference, but you can also see like in the creases, they're still black, so it pops out really strongly. So you get to see, even from a distance now, even though the tones are so dark, you can still see that like detail that the model comes with, which by the way, like these models are just beautiful. Like they don't, like they pretty much leave the creativity in the hands of me, in my hands of just the colors. That's part of why I like this, is because like I'm not talented enough to be able to pull like all of this off, but it gives me enough shortcuts that I think I can try and like slowly develop something really pretty and beautiful to look at, because like the foundation is so good. So I'm now very happy with that. In the future, I'm going to continue to paint these models, and in future models, I think this is my base palette I'm going to go for. I optimistically had all my tones set up for doing the skin. I don't think I have time for that or energy for it tonight. This has already gone so long. It's like 2 hours. All right. So when I finish with you, I will be wrapping this up and cleaning up, but I will probably be painting more in the coming weeks. I'll make sure to put updates as I go. So like when I get to a point where like when this squad is done, I'm going to post it in announcements or something. Like everyone's going to be able to see it. But more or less, I'm very, very excited to be able to share this stuff with you, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. Keep in mind, this is a bit of a special thing. Patroncasts are going to be coming out every month, and they are exclusive to patrons except for these Christmas ones. But I have decided I wanted to do at least one a year that everyone gets to participate in, and I think the Christmas one just is perfect. I mean, it's like effectively the anniversary of when this channel started. It's a time when like I really want to think about you guys and the gifts that you give me with your time and your comments and your likes and your dislikes and like everything. Like the fact that I can do what I do and love it so much is no small part because of you and what you do and like how you make something that's a hobby of mine so much more. So thank you so much for that. Like you'll never understand just how important that is to me and how hard it is for me to even talk about something like Patreon, because like I know something on Patreon it's kind of like the gateway to like making a career out of YouTube for someone like me. Like something like Patreon is really going to be necessary, or even channel memberships, which I can't even do yet. And I want you guys to understand that like I want to set that as a goal. I love to make a career. I would love to make this like the dream come true. Like I don't want to be shy about the fact that I am shooting for that. But I also feel ashamed because I have no right to ask for you to be patrons of me. And so to have people who are patrons of me, like it literally makes me it makes me feel inadequate. It makes me feel like I don't do enough for this channel and for the 4 of you who have decided to become patrons. Pat Kilo, you have been a friend of mine for years, and the fact that you are supporting me on my channel and my dreams is so humbling for me. And the fact that like my patron page hadn't even been put up and announced for 24 hours when you signed up. It's just, I don't even know how to handle that. It's on a whole nother level, and so thank you. Delta 7, you were close on his heels, and Dias Ire and Fafnir, these are the names you go by on Discord. Thank you so much. You'll see their names pop up at the end of the videos. They're lab mems number 002, 3, 4, and 5 respectively. Unlike Ogabey's lab, our lab will never have too many members. And the thing is that when you're a lab mem for life. I don't care if you want to directly support this channel, like that is amazing to me. And if you support it for just 1 month with $1 and that's it, I don't care. Like you are officially a lab mem for life. And I am floored that you'd even do that. When it comes to YouTube revenue, by watching, you might give me $1 by watching like my videos when they come out the whole year. You make so little from ad revenue on that stuff, and especially because I'm never going to just splash ads through those videos. Like I hate that. I never want to do that. The most I ever want you to see is as an ad at the beginning, maybe an ad at the end, and even then, I'm not super comfortable with that. But unfortunately, it looks like YouTube kind of takes that out of my hands at this point. So I don't know if I even if I ask them to just put an ad at the beginning, I get the feeling that they're sneaking in ads anyway, and I can't control that beyond what I can do. So I'm sorry about that, unfortunately. But I don't want ads to be primary on my channel. I want you to watch my videos because you want to be there. The ads are part of the dream though, so like they need to be a part of it. But like $1 is so much more than you give me just watching those videos. And so frankly, like if you're willing to do 1 month of support on the channel, like that's so much more than you understand that could ever be. And I don't want to ever make it feel like you're not giving enough if you decide to give me anything, because the fact that you watch me is enough. And it's so humbling. And so I don't even know how to handle it. Like trying to put it into words right now is one of the hardest things I've done. And you know me, I never shut up. But just feeling like there's something I'm giving that you feel is worthy of a little bit of pocket change is just incredible to me. And I do want to make sure I can pass that on and help other people too. I feel like this year I've been more giving than I've ever been before, because I'm a recipient of such kindness. I feel like I can't help but want to reach out to people in my community too. So in my private life, I've been seeking more opportunities to support and to help people. And you've been such an inspiration for me. You're helping me be a better person, and that's so amazing to me. I don't deserve you guys or gals, I guess. I say guys in a unisex form, although it's not. I've actually caused confusion with some people. So like guys and girls, everyone, lab mems, like you're all amazing. So yeah, if you ever do support the channel, even for just a blip, like a tiny little bit, like 1 month, $1 and you're done, you never pay again. You're going to be kept in the records of the lab mems forever. If I ever get to the point where I have a ton, obviously, like the way names are represented at the end of videos might change, but consider like your number will be yours. Like whatever your number is, like that's yours for life. I don't care whether you support me for life or not. Like you're all, once a lab mem, always a lab mem. And that's the way it's going to be. And that's the thing too, like these Patroncasts, when you join, you go onto the Patreon, you will get access to like the Discord chats, and most importantly, you get a link to the playlist of these Patroncasts. Now, you guys who are watching this, you can watch this because it pops up in your feed. And as long as you have the link to this video, you'll always be able to watch it, because this one will be public too. But most of them are going to be unlisted. And that's because it's something that I feel like only somebody who wants to support the channel directly would be interested in. And it's kind of like the only thing I can think of that can like be a thank you is being able to have this kind of more private one-on-one type of content. So if you ever support the channel, like you'll be given a link to the playlist of all the Patroncasts. And then like you just save that playlist somewhere, because if you stop being a patron, like you might not be able to access the link again. But like as long as you have that link, you'll always have access to the Patroncast. So like if you ever just like sign up for 1 month, donating once and then never donate again, you will for the rest of time have access to all Patroncasts, and I want it that way. I could set it up easily where that isn't the case, but I don't want that. I want you to always feel like if you want to have that like backdoor glimpse and you're willing to support the channel in any way, like directly, like you've more than earned it for the rest of time. So just keep that in mind. If for whatever reason you want to see more of these Patroncasts, like don't feel like you have to be a constant supporter of the channel. Like just do that one little dip, and honestly, like you'll have it for the rest of time. I don't like acting like I like don't want patrons. Like that's obviously not the case, but I also don't want to come across as begging. This is something that like if you do this, it's because you want to like see the channel succeed. You want to see it grow. You want to directly support it because like you like what we do and you want to see more. And if that's the case, then fan freaking tastic. I don't deserve it, and I'm so grateful for it. But again, I cannot emphasize this enough, and I feel like it sucks because I don't want my words to feel dead because a patron exists. But if you are watching this, then you're doing so much more than I deserve anyway. Don't feel obligated ever that you need to support this channel financially. Like that should never be the case. It should be something that you do because you genuinely think that I'm bringing something to the table that you want to see improve and grow. And like, I promise you, I will do that. Okay. I don't know. I'm becoming exhausted. I'm becoming weepy. It's never good. So there's not much else I want to say. I guess future stuff for the channel. Okay. We just wrapped, Jiangsh and Dash, but there's going to be more content in the future we'll probably explore. Those who are patron supporters will have access to a poll I'm going to be putting out in the next couple weeks. Like next Friday, we're going to be doing the wrap party for Jiangsh and Dash. So like that we'll be doing that, but then right after that airs, I should be posting a poll on the Discord for the patrons where I'm going to be selecting like the next 3 possible like titles I'm considering for Fridays. Remember, Fridays are specifically set aside for titles that are from either new developers or like smaller like companies, like and less mainstream, or just new content that maybe is just not caught the limelight yet. Good examples of these series that we found of gems are things like Seabed. Seabed is like still one of my top visual novels of all time, but it's very much in the niche side of a very niche culture, which is the visual novels. But it's such a fantastic series, and I want to discover more like that. So I always want to make sure I make time every week to cover content that's just not blazing in neon lights, like House of Fata Morgana, muv-luv, Science Gate. These are blowout titles that are well established as fantastic and like cult classics. My Fridays are about learning where the next cult classic might be coming from. So if you are a patron at the time, you will have access to the list of like the top 3 I'm considering for the next slot, and you will be able to directly select it with me. That's another of the perks that patrons get, is you get to pick what we cover next. So if that sounds appealing to you, that's probably the most participatory that you get for being a patron and being an active patron. Like that's the best part. But I'm also it's going to be pretty clear when we're getting ready for it. So like feel free to always make recommendations on my on the VN recommendations on the Discord. I always take those into heavy consideration. But when it comes to picking what our Friday slot is, I'm gonna help let my patrons really have a hand in that. As far as like my Mondays and Wednesdays, those are pretty much locked in because there's stuff I really want to cover on the channel, and I don't want to sacrifice that choice to anything, because I feel like that there's some big titles we really need to go through and some long series that we need to go through. Oh my gosh. So whilst I want to keep Fridays dynamic, Mondays and Wednesdays are going to be pretty locked in. Granted, if we ever get to the point where the channel can become full-time for me, where I can get 40 hours a week of effort into it and can effectively do videos every day, then we're going to discuss with the patrons specifically what kind of model we're going to go for. Like, do we do 5 series at a time where like every day is a different episode of a series? Or do we keep it nailed down and tight to like 3 series, but we do like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 trade-offs on a 6-day cycle? There's a lot of interesting directions we can take it if we can go full time with this channel. So keep that in mind, that patrons are going to be helping shape a lot of the way the channel is going to play out if we continue to grow like we have. Channel growth is interesting because I'm not exploding and I don't want to explode, but the growth is accelerating slowly. Like beginning of the year, I was seeing maybe like 25 new subs a month. Now we're averaging 45. Like that number is very slow, but it's creeping up. And that means that we're gaining more and more traction. And that means that the algorithm is going to start showing my content more and more. And as I cover more topics, and it means that more audiences are going to be exposed to what we do. It means that the channel is heading in a positive direction. And that's fantastic, because that means that that dream is still well a possibility. Could it take 10 years? Maybe. Could it take 2 months? Maybe. I doubt it. But like we're looking at that possibility. And so like I want to be prepared for that day, and I want you to feel like you're a part of that journey as much as you can. And so like that's really what this is all about, is becoming a part of this family and being a part of the what is to come directly. If that's appealing to you, check out the links to Patreon in the description and in the description of every video, especially the more recent ones. You can also see it, I believe, linked at the end of my videos and on my about page and stuff on the channel. And in Discord, like it's everywhere, like not hard to find at all. I also will be posting things like potential ideas for future art for the channel. I did a little bit of a survey last time, but it was ungainly. Patrons are probably going to have a pretty direct hand in like the next commission I make for like end title art for the channel. Because right now we've got the 2 main ones. We've got the muv-luv themed one, and we have the persona based one. The next one I might try and do proactively to try and do a stylization based on a visual novel that we'll be covering in the future, and which one that will be. So there's a lot of exciting stuff there, and I'll probably pitch it your way. And also, like, I do want to hopefully get to the point now where I have like a little lounge where I might just kind of pop in if I'm doing something like painting and I'm just chilling, and patrons can see and just come and chat, where it won't get too clustered. And you can also give you an opportunity just to reach out and tell me stuff and your thoughts and everything. There's a lot of exciting stuff in the future. 2021, I think, is going to be really, really powerful year for the channel. I'm looking forward to introducing and kind of embellishing these new ideas I've been having. And as we continue to gain some momentum, I'm hoping to start looking and finding more people to do outreach with on YouTube itself. Meltica Melty, still a good friend. I hope we can still do some collabs with her, but she's doing the thing a lot of other creators do. She's stepping away from visual novels mostly. She's doing a lot of great Yakuza stuff. By the way, if you don't follow her on Twitch, Meltica_Melty, fantastic channel to watch. She's really fun. I can't recommend her too much. I hope to find other channels and maybe either, but the thing is, like, it's also hard to do collaborative stuff in visual novels unless we read together. There's not much else to do. So if you have any ideas of types of collabs or channels you think I should reach out to, please make sure to post it in the Discord somewhere. I'd love to do a collab. And if you think there might be a creator that would be responsive, I would love to have a link and we could get that discourse going and see if it would work out. Also, the last thing I want to say is conventions and activities. As we try and recover from this pandemic, I'm hoping that I can get more involved in conventions. I want to start doing some cosplay, soft cosplay. My first official, I've already said before, the first cosplay I'm going to try ever. I want to do an Okabe cosplay. I think I can pull it off, and it's a relatively easy one. So I want to be able to show that. I want to be able to maybe do little vlogs and featurettes about stuff I go to do at cons, but most importantly, I just want to go to cons. But the thing is, because we share so many interests like anime and visual novels, there's a good chance that somebody, one out of all of us, might actually go to a con at the same time I do. And I want to make sure that we can try and connect, maybe go grab lunch or go to a specific panel together, maybe do some photo shoots or something. If you want to take a picture with me and whatever cosplay I pull off or something, I'd love to be able to meet up with you. And I have someday I'm going to go to Japan. We've allocated the money, we've allocated the plans. COVID really stepped on my toes there, but I'm going to go to Japan at some point. I really want to visit. It's going to be a solo trip. I plan to do future trips with my family, but I probably won't do much vlog content of those, unless there's something specific that I think would be good to show. But this first one, I definitely want to make kind of heralding of our channel and our journey, because it's going to be all about just kind of a me trip. So I plan to go Akihabara. I plan to go to Yokohama, and I want to find the locations where the artists drew inspiration for various important scenes from Steins Gate and muv-luv. I also just want to go do things like find a maid cafe and try not feel super awkward. Go and maybe buy some cool merch. Just take a look at some of those things, and I'd love to try and reach out to the studios who make visual novels like Magus, Key, Sekai, and these other production companies that have made these visual novels that I love so much. I'd love to try and go and talk to them, meet with them, maybe even do a little interview with them. That'd be so amazing. I doubt they'll do it, but it won't stop me from trying to reach out. But while I'm in Japan too, I would love to try and set up a meeting then. So if anybody happens to be in Japan, locally, I'd love to try and set up maybe we can meet up at a specific cafe or a diner or a location, and somewhere big and kind of public, where we could just meet up and chat a little bit and say hi. Obviously, the vacation's not meant to be oh, let's parade around as a big group, but I'd love to make sure that whilst I'm going somewhere so exotic, that if any of you are listening who happen to be there, I'd love to have a chance to be able to say hi to you. So yeah, there's a lot of exciting stuff. And the thing is, some of this can likely happen in 2021 or 2022. So it's good to talk about now. Anyway, I've been here enough. It's been such a long, my throat's really sore. I need to go take a break and just breathe. This has been so much fun. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're interested in seeing some of my my attempts at doing something more unique. I really like the direction this is going in. I hope to be able to continue to do more I'm gonna do another showcase again, just kind of see, like, so this dry brushing, I have little patches I'd need to go over again, but it really worked out well. I think it looks fantastic. I'm really excited to continue working on these in my spare time. And if you have your own crafts, like I have a fan art section on the Discord, but that includes your own art. So if you do model painting, or if you make collages, or you finish a really crazy puzzle or something, like feel free to post it on the Discord. I'd love to see the stuff that you are doing and you're creating. Maybe we could do like a highlight video someday where I can like feature your posts and like your creativity and just kind of, you know, share it more. But I don't know, that's something that's entirely up to you. Mostly I would just love to kind of see what you find your passion projects and what you're working on. If you have anything, like I'll try and answer all comments on this video. Like I do that in almost every video, but these ones in particular, Patroncast, like I want to like make sure I spend a lot of attention and care responding. So please leave a comment if you want to like hear back from me, or if you want to ask me a question. I'll do my absolute best to get back to you. Granted, it might take a bit. Christmas is going to be a busy day for me, so like while this is uploading, I'm probably running around like a chicken with its head cut off. But sometime between Christmas and New Year's, I will do my best to reply to you all. I love you all so much. I'm not even exaggerating when I say that. Like, you brought such light and joy to me in this very hellish year. So, like, thank you so much. I don't know how else to say it other than the fact that, like, you made a dark time much brighter. And I hope that my videos could do something similar for you. But I don't know. The fact that you stuck around tells me that I'm doing something right. So thank you. And, I look forward to doing a Patroncast every month from here on out, and next Christmas doing another public one like this. So hopefully you've enjoyed yourself, and I hope to see you and hear from you all in the future videos to come for the great year of 2021. May it be a little less chaotic, right? But until the next video you're watching me, have seen me next. I'll see you there. I salute, but you can't see it, so bye-bye.